Well, hi friends, I'm Brian Cosby. This is Provide and Protect. And I know if you're watching this, you're probably committed to supporting the Second Amendment. But the question sometimes comes, well, what are the actual scenarios and situations that we need to be training for? And so today I want to share with you my top 4 scenarios that we need to be training for so that we can better protect and defend ourselves, our family, and others. So let's get into it. So I agree with a lot of folks out there that we should be spending more time in training, and it's great to have a lot of great cool gear and guns, and it's all wonderful. But if we're not actually training, then a lot of that stuff is just kind of pointless because we don't know how to use it, we can't use it safely. And so really these 4 scenarios that I want to talk about today are things that you can do right now, and you can start training. You don't have to be out at a range like I am today. You can actually start training and preparing yourself now. And the first of these scenarios is just simply your CCW, your carry weapon. And for a lot of us, we like to carry every day. And whether that's appendix, whether it's something else, or even a bag. I've got a bag Vertex bag that I can quickly grab a firearm out of there if I'm using that, if I'm running that. But the first of these is in looking at the CCW, is that we need to think about what are the scenarios that I might be in that could pose a threat or a danger. And whether you're at a shopping mall, whether you are pumping gas, if you are some kind of event, and you need to be thinking in your mind, not just when you go to the range, I'm going to pull out my handgun and stand there still, the target still, everything is, there's no movement, there's no really trying to increase your speed and accuracy. And so when we're training for CCW and when you're carrying, that involves movement, it involves speed, it involves, of course, accuracy, and also the situational awareness of what's beyond your target. And so if you're out at a range, like I am today, then you can not just stand there and shoot your gun, but you can move, you can time yourself, you can do things that would simulate an actual carry situation. And so you can work on draw speed, all of that. And so the first scenario is just trying to envision a wide range of situations you might be in, and you need to work on draw speed and work on the actual fundamentals and the specifics. And I love what T-Rex Arms, Lucas over there at T-Rex Arms, is doing and really helping us to think through the actual detailed fundamentals of how quickly can I access my weapon, reload, speed reloads. Those are the kinds of things you can do. But even at home, dry firing and at home, you can actually work on those draws. You can work on some of those fundamentals and techniques even at home. But that's the first situation and scenario to really be training for, is you're carrying the weapon. You're not just at a range standing still, but you're thinking through the various situations where you're having to move, get on a knee, lie down, all those kinds of things that you might find yourself in one day. So the second scenario to be training for is out of your vehicle. If you have a car, truck, whatever you have, that you're thinking through, okay, if I've got a seatbelt on, is it really practical for me to draw from that position? Can I quickly and effectively get my weapon and address the threat, whatever it may be? Again, this is something else you can do. You got to be careful about people watching you if you're in a neighborhood or something. Of course, you don't want to train with live ammunition in that kind of environment, or even be careful about shooting holes through your windshield. You don't want to do that. But you can still think about the scenarios of, okay, if I'm in my vehicle, I'm at a traffic light, come out of the grocery store, get in my vehicle, can I quickly access my firearm in that moment? If there's a threat coming to my vehicle, they're thinking through the various situations that could affect your safety or the safety of those in your car or truck. So one area is to think through, okay, how can I access this? This could be having one of those magnetic holster kind of things in your truck or car that you can when you get in, you just put your firearm right there, and you can access it quickly. How to get out of your vehicle, the window, all of those kinds of things. You're thinking through that whole scenario, whether maybe it's in the crease between your seat and the console. You're thinking through, where do I need to put this so I can access it quickly and get shots on target effectively. But that's the second scenario to think through is when you're in your vehicle, a lot of people are not just, they can't access their firearm if it's still on them. A lot of times people will take it off, they'll put it next to them, they'll put it under the seat, they'll do something. But you need to think through that whole scenario and the various kinds of situations you might find yourself in to protect yourself. So the third scenario to think about is in your home defense. Now, this is the bump in the night, you hear glass breaking, and what do you do in that moment? Oftentimes what I actually do when my wife and my children are gone, I'll turn off the lights, I'll close the blinds, and I'll actually get under the covers as I were, if I'm pretending that I'm actually asleep, and I'll actually set my alarm 15, 30 seconds, whatever it may be, and I feel comfortable, and then the alarm goes off. That's the window breaking. That's the banging on the door. That's whatever that is. Wake up. What's the first thing that you do? Do you have to go over and spend several minutes trying to find your gun, your firearm? Obviously, you want to keep all your firearms locked up for safety and children, so highly recommend that. But if you do that, you have to think through, is it going to be a biometric or a keypad? What is it that I want to be able to do to access that weapon quickly? Sometimes the biometrics, they can be a little finicky, and it will say that you're hurt and you're trying to get that, and maybe you have blood or dirt or something, grease on your fingers. It may not read. Just something to think about. But you want to be able to think through the scenario that when that actually happens, you practice getting up out of bed. You do whatever it is to get your firearm, and then do you have a plan from there? Do your children, does your wife, do they know what to do in that situation? Stay in their rooms. If they hear something breaking, something going on, do they know, stay put? Do you have a safe place where they can go? But you're thinking through, what do I do in that moment before it actually happens? Something to consider and think about, and that's the third scenario to train for. So the fourth and final scenario is something that's a little more unusual. The first three, those things happen quite often around the country, and you could easily find yourself in one of those three scenarios any day. The fourth one is more of an unusual event where you are having to protect not only your home, but maybe even a portion of your neighborhood. Maybe it's a situation, an SHTF situation, where there's no rule of law, there's marauders because there's an EMP, the grid is down. And this is going to be more of a long-term situation where you're maybe having to join with others in defending an area, defending a home. There's riots, there's people coming through your neighborhood near your home. And again, you got to be very careful with the laws here. We've seen this in the past few years. But you got to be very careful you don't want to just brandish a weapon in front of someone. We've seen how that works in today's society and laws. But there's still situations, scenarios that what if it were to come down to it where there are people that are armed, that are approaching your house, approaching your neighborhood, approaching your street, whether during the daytime or nighttime. And you got to think about that as well. And let's say there is no more food. The grocery stores are empty, and you've been prepared. You have food, and maybe other people are maybe aware of that. They think about that, and so they're going to come to your house. And are you prepared to defend your home, your castle, as it were, and maybe others in your neighborhood, others on your street that might need to join together with you to protect yourself? So that might take some more long-term planning and thinking. And that's where things get really expensive too, especially if you get a night vision. I mean, you're talking thousands of dollars in night vision, but it could be something that is worth it and for you to invest in, because you don't want to get to a situation where, and of course we're watching this in the news, and it seems like every day with the escalation with Russia, Ukraine, China, North Korea, Iran. I mean, these are all things that I know the military is thinking and preparing and training for right now. But these are things that if there is an EMP and everything is out, the grid is down, then it could be a really bad situation. And I know for me and those that live near me, we want to be prepared for even something like that. That's a fourth scenario. Maybe, again, unusual. We don't really think about it as much, but something to still train for and think through that situation and how we could protect and defend our home. So it's another thing to think about. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. If you've not already done so, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate you and your support. With that, we'll see you on the next video.